If there was a Mount Rushmore of meme music, Rush E would have its place right next to Gangnam Style and Rick Roll. But where did it come from? How does it work? And why does everyone and their mother have a cover of it on YouTube? On the first day of the year of our Lord, 2018, a channel called Sheet Music Boss, who is best known for their piano synesthesia compositions and arrangements, published a video simply titled B. For those of you who are old as like me, you probably remember seeing this B everywhere. But where it came from and why it happened still remains a mystery to me. Not even Lessons in Meme Culture had a video on this, which is where I normally go when I feel old and out of the loop. But what I can say with certainty is that it's no more stupid than today's 6'7" meme. 6'7"! The video B was simply meant to play on the prevalent meme at the time, but to Sheet Music Boss's surprise, the video got a community guideline strike almost immediately after upload for inappropriate content.
Community strike because of inappropriate content.
Glad to see YouTube hasn't changed much in the last 7 years. It was likely actually taken down because after the B, we got 9 minutes and 50 seconds of a black screen to try and boost the ad revenue, and that probably pissed a lot of people off. But this overly sensitive YouTube trigger would actually work out in Sheet Music Boss's favor. 2 days later, Sheet Music Boss would upload a video called Rip B, where they explain the situation about what happened with their previous video.
Yeah, we got a community strike for something that's just one note falling on the piano.
And during that video, they went over some of the comments they had received on B before it was taken down. And this turned out to be a genius move. A commenter named Shushi Tanker, who in my opinion should be given writing credit, would change things forever when they asked to make B Russian.
Shushi Tanker says, now can you make this Russian?
Probably.
And just 2 weeks later, our meme lords would publish Rush B, the first video in the Rush series. When I was first looking into Rush E, I had no idea that these earlier iterations even existed. But Rush B is essentially a roadmap to all of the later versions, so in order to understand E, we need to first understand B. Rush B, quite controversially, is not actually in the key of B. Instead, it is in the key of E minor, and B serves as the dominant, a device that is used to connect the various sections of the music. Our intro, of course, plays right into the meme, repeating the B over and over again to really hammer it into your head. But our key really isn't established until measure 4, with our iconic accompaniment figure. And now we're clearly in the key of E minor. Overall, Rush B doesn't really have a clear classical form, but it can be thought of as a kind of binary form mixed with the theme and variations, where there are 2 themes or main sections that receive multiple variations throughout the piece. And the first main theme starts here in measure 5. Have a listen. If you know Rush E, that is going to sound pretty familiar. We'll go into why later. But what exactly makes this Russian? If you remember, Shushi Tanker requested a Russian B. Well, I think, to be honest, it's meant to be more stereotypically or comedically Russian, rather than actually based on Russian composers. I don't hear much Tchaikovsky in this piece, but it's pretty effective nonetheless. Sheet Music Boss has a history of taking themes and making them sound Russian, and there are a few things that go into that formula. The first is to take the theme and put it in a minor key, regardless of what mode the original theme was in. You can see this in their evil Thomas the Tank Engine video. The next is that iconic left-hand accompaniment. You can hear it in the 20th Century Soviet Fox video. The strong articulation in the lower bass register along with the boom chuck accompaniment figure makes it sound dramatic and heavy. And the third is a dose of memes, either explicitly in the video, such as the Soviet Russian anthem Learns You, or in the comments section. And as you'll see, Rush B and every other version in the Rush series contains all of these elements. But that's not to say nothing in this piece is based on actual Russian music. We can see hints of it. Those 5 notes there are what's called encircling the dominant, or encircling the 5th scale degree. That C natural and that A sharp are both leading tones to the B natural, which creates a lot of tension in the music and drives the ear towards the beat, again playing into the meme. And I wouldn't say that sound is inherently Russian, But that same device can be heard at the end of the first theme of Shostakovich's Jazz Waltz, who of course is the most Russian of all of the Russian composers. And there is even some similarities between the heavy accompaniment of sheet music boss's arrangements and the Jazz Waltz, even though they are in different time signatures. Our first theme is an 8-bar phrase period structure with a half cadence in the middle, where we get that very low B acting as the dominant to connect the two 4-bar subphrases. And then we get a tag with a perfect cadence, 1-5-7-1, in the key of E minor. The next 8 bars, we get a repeat of the first theme, quite a bit faster this time. And in the next section, we get the second main theme of the piece, this time modulated to the key of the subdominant, A minor. And this one again is a period structure with a weak half cadence in the middle of it. The 5 chord in A minor should be E major, but here we only get that same really low B. So a 5 chord is implied, just weakly. It's more to play into the meme instead of the key itself. That second theme is ended with the same 2-bar tag as the first, which brings us back to E minor again. We get another iteration of theme 1 played again, slightly faster this time with octaves in the right hand, but then we move on to something a little more interesting. The next section is what I would call score painting. There's a type of musical notation out there where the visual aspects of the score are meant to be just as much art as the sound of the music itself. This can sometimes be known as graphic notation, but I've seen it called some other things. For example, there was a piece of music written by Cornelius Cardew titled Treatise, where the score is 193 pages of essentially artwork. Because every musician would interpret this work differently, you could say that the art in the score is actually more important than the sound of the musicians playing it, though there would probably be some debate on that. And something similar happens here. The actual sound becomes less important than the score. The point of this is to be able to spell out the words Rush B in the piano score. What adds even another layer of intrigue is that this only makes sense in the synesthesia piano score. If you look at the actual music notation for this part, it's nonsense. Probably the most prominent aspect of the Rush series, other than the fact that they are Russian, is that they are completely impossible to play. Other versions and arrangements exist to make it playable, but the original composition is impossible. Actually, I'm using the official sheet music boss playable versions of these pieces to guide me through this. I'll leave links to their store in the description. And this score painting section marks when the music goes from mostly playable, minus a few octaves tricks, to completely impossible. From here on out, the music will continue to get more and more unmanageable and intense every phrase until the end of the piece. And what's more interesting is the way that Rush B becomes impossible is exactly the same way that Rush E will become impossible later. In the section following our acceleration and score painting, we get the first theme again in a variation that I would call too many hands, as there are just not enough fingers on your hands to be able to play all these notes. The next section gives us theme 2 again, this time with arpeggios that interweave the melody in a way that would be unplayable. There is also some interesting block chords that include every note on the piano, which really bring out the percussion sound of the instrument. Theme 1 then returns again with what I would call the impossible gliss section, which again involves every key on the keyboard, and this will become more and more intense as time goes on. And the last section is the most ridiculous part of the music, marked with a half-step key change to F minor, changing us temporarily from Rush B to Rush C, as the fifth of that new key would be C. And this is when the music gets to the point where I honestly couldn't tell you if all of those notes are actually coming out of my speakers or not. Take a look at the actual score in this section. You might as well just color the page black. And the ending is a quick tag of the final 2 measures of the first theme before the almighty B comes down and crashes every key on the keyboard. You know, just in case you forgot. And with that amount of views, it would be impossible for you to not come to the natural conclusion, what about Rush A? Rush A exists in the middle of the saga between B and E, and we're going to skip over it as it would be completely redundant. You'll see why shortly. But it's clear that A was another hit. And again from the comments, another genius idea was born. Rush E. And here it is, the magnum opus. You might be wondering why I spent so much time on B when this video was supposed to be about E. Well, it's because structurally, Rush E is almost identical to both Rush B and Rush A. Take a look at the flowcharts I created for both pieces. They are exactly the same length, exactly the same structure, and exactly the same in the way they make everything impossible. The same ideas and devices are used throughout the piece. There are only really two things that are different, the key of the piece and the melodic themes. Rush E, just like its previous versions, are not in the key that is advertised. This one instead is in A minor, and E serves as the dominant of that key. The same encircling device from the first theme of B can be seen here in E, and both themes are almost exactly the same in harmony and structure. As before, the second theme is in the key of the subdominant, this time being D minor. The same word painting section occurs here at the same place, this time spelling out Rush E. And again, this marks where the music becomes impossible. Here is the Too Many Hands theme. Here is the cascading arpeggios. Here is the impossible gliss. And here is the key change up a half step, this time to B flat minor, giving us Rush F temporarily. And of course, E. So as you can see, it's mostly a carbon copy. Both Rush B and Rush A were wildly successful compared to mere mortal standards, but Rush E reached a new level. Why? It did everything the other two did. What makes this one so special? In my opinion, there are two main reasons why Rush E reached another level of success, neither really having to do with the music itself. The first is the E meme itself, which apparently is actually Markiplier's face superimposed onto Lord Farquaad from Shrek. Never knew that. This meme, just like Rush E, was meant to be absurd and almost incomprehensible. According to Lessons in Meme Culture, who does have a video on this one, thank God for that, the E meme is a reference to the current absurdity of modern memes. And to be clear, by modern, he meant roughly 2018, which is both when his video on the topic and Rush E were first published. In its most common form, the punchline or the bottom text of the meme is just the letter E. And there's no real meaning or reference to anything. You either get it or you don't. Absurdity for absurdity's sake. Another example would be the Here Come Dat Boy meme. I feel stupid just saying that, which was also popular around the same time. It meant nothing. The entire internet had gotten sick of the heavily structured meme format of the past, such as Bad Luck Brian, and instead started to embrace these weird and meaningless memes. And Rush E played perfectly into that attitude. It represented the meme both by actually incorporating it into the piece of music itself, but also the attitude behind the meme, by musically being just as absurd as the meme itself. The second, and definitely more concrete reason why Rush E blew up past its predecessors was because of this guy right here. If you've been on the internet for any amount of time, I'm sure you've come across this guy before. He's known by many names: Penguinz0, Moist Critical, Internet Jesus, but most people just call him Charlie. He's best known for his deadpan reactions to internet drama and absurdities, often saying the most ridiculous things with a monotone demeanor. I love it.
Terrorists have infiltrated a local Burger King. Oh, jeez.
And he and his 18 million subscribers played a vital role in Rush E's success, as well as the continuation of the Rush series after E. In his video, When the Bad Guy is Actually Talented, he goes over a now infamous situation that involves Rush E.
There's no worse feeling than when you engage in an internet argument with some anonymous asshole, and then it turns out that that asshole is extremely talented. Today I have a very sad story to share with you where the villain gets the last laugh.
Just like A and B, almost immediately after Rush E came out, there were people attempting to make their own covers and arrangements of it. And in December of 2020, Pro Lightning Piano and Gaming did just that, uploading his own arrangement of Rush E. And as with most videos on YouTube, the comment section was quite active. And one thing to know about YouTube comment sections is that they can be very volatile. You'll have people simultaneously calling you a genius and a dumbass. I can attest to this. But a very supportive comment left from a person with a very questionable username would start off a chain reaction that would explode Rush E past its predecessors. In a reply to this comment, a person named Fanchen had input his opinion. Of course, when nobody asked for it. His comment said that he found the performance to be mediocre. No offense. But based on his later attitude, it was clear that he meant at least a little offense. This spiked an argument in the comments section, with people challenging Fanchen to upload his own cover and arrangement. And after some back and forth, he agreed. Now usually when somebody is talking shit to you on the internet, especially anonymously, the chances that they are going to back up what they are saying is roughly 1 in a million. Unfortunately, this guy ran into the 1 in a million. Roughly a week later, Fanchen would upload his version of Rush E. And in the words of Charlie,
and unfortunately, it fucking slaps.
the combined views of this situation with Charlie's 18.5 million and Fanchen's 19 million obviously drove millions of people to watch the original Rush E composition, skyrocketing it past the other Rush versions. And after that, the floodgates opened on the amount of covers that appeared on YouTube, which again drove more people back to the original. It got so much attention that it inspired sheet music boss to write Rush E2, and they even mentioned the Fanchen moist critical situation at the beginning of the video. And they didn't mess with the formula much after this either. Rush E2 was more musically complex than the original, but Rush F, G, and C sharp all followed a very similar formula to the original. All of them very successful videos. So there you go, more knowledge than you will ever need about Rush E. Use it wisely. So we've recently hit a big milestone on this channel, 10,000 subs. Thank you so much for everyone who has subscribed. I'll be doing a 10K sub special soon, so if you have any questions for me or anything else you'd like to say, please leave a comment down below, send me a message on Instagram or Twitter, or send me an email. Links to all of that in the description. Thanks for watching.